Welcome to the Sent from Disneyland podcast.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
If it's your first time joining us, welcome. On this podcast, we'll take a journey into the past and explore Disneyland and Disneyland history with mementos, snapshots, and postcards sent from Disneyland from 1955 to the present. The postcards from this episode will be viewable on Instagram at Sent from Disneyland or on my website, sentfromdisneyland.com. Today I'm starting off by thanking my patrons from patreon.com. You can join in and receive mail from my desk or for my trips to Disneyland. I'm currently working on some new patron benefits. Patrons can sign up for as little as $1 per month. Special thanks to Random Olive, the first patron to this podcast, and to the e-ticket patrons Tania, Eric Daniels, Monica Seitz Vega, Joe Gamble, Scott Booker, Russ Romano, Michael and Christina Cross, Mary Henderson, and Sheila Harry. C-ticket patrons Serious Inquiries Only, Debbie Weinstein, Jennifer Schneep, Ruby McDowell, Grace Coate, Scott Cagle, Ben and Noel Bruning, and Patty Wolin. B-ticket patron The Disney Rewind Podcast, and to the A-ticket patrons Elise Sharp, Zealot Infinity, Alexis Robles, Maggie and Henry Byers, Angelica Nablock, and the All Aboard Podcast. I am your host, your post-host Clocky. Since this episode will post on October 1st and the 40th anniversary of Walt Disney World's Epcot Center, here are two postcards from Epcot Center. The front of our first postcard has a view of Spaceship Earth at night. On the back it reads, Future World. Discover how today's dreams can become tomorrow's realities. Entertainment adventures, explore communications, energy, transportation, the land, imagination, and so much more. It's postmarked March 11th, 1986, with a Miami, Florida, Dade County special cancel and a 22-cent flag over Capitol postage stamp, Scott number 2115. I assume they visit the park on March 10th. I don't have exact hours for Epcot in the 80s, but I looked in an old guide. It's likely the hours were from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. The weather was a high of 76 and a low of 65. It's addressed to a Mr. and Mrs. Michael Bacher of Berkeley, California. It reads, Dear Martha and Mickey, here's a picture of Epcot Center, where we spent a whole day and still didn't see everything. We're having a nice time here in Florida, but we'll need a vacation to rest when we get home. Trust all is well with you folks. Love, Bruce and Carol. The Epcot Center we know today does not match Walt's original idea of a futuristic city. The name was used for the second park built in Florida. Today simply known as Epcot, Epcot Center was made to be a permanent World's Fair, showcasing imagination, discovery, education, and exploration. As mentioned on this postcard, Epcot is big, including two main sections, Future World and the World Showcase, which in turn have their own pavilions. The center of Future World and the icon of Epcot is Spaceship Earth. This large silver golf ball houses an Omnimover attraction with audio animatronics and displays an historic timeline of innovation and discovery. The attraction opened with the park and included an original script written by Ray Bradbury. Guests move through scenes of audio animatronic characters forming languages, moving through time, and working with computers and with computer languages. This attraction has gone through many updates and different narrators. It's currently narrated by Dame Judi Dench. Some of the other lands or pavilions on the Future World side of Epcot when it opened, Earth Station, Universe of Energy, Horizons, World of Motion, Journey into Imagination, The Land, The Living Seas, and Communicore. While many of the names of these pavilions are self-explanatory, some, like Horizons, were named to draw guests in. Horizons' main purpose was to exhibit what the future would be like working with technology and integrating machines to enhance our lives in the future. Communicore was focused on the future of community, including an attraction called Epcot Poll. An audience of 170 guests would answer poll questions about societal and economic issues. Epcot Poll would gather public opinion research of citizens from around the world. For a time, it was the largest continuing public poll in the world. The results of the poll would appear directly on screens on the attraction, giving immediate feedback. Much of Future World in Epcot has changed since opening day on October 1st, 1982, and more changes are planned in the near future, with the addition of new attractions and with a revamped theme for all the pavilions to Worlds. The Future World side of Epcot now only has 3 worlds: World Celebration, World Discovery, and World Nature. Enfield Post isn't doing a Halloween stamp set this year, but is back doing Sunday sales on Instagram. This Sunday there will be an Olympic theme to the vintage stamps for sale, with stamps from 1972 to 1996. You can head over to EnfieldPost.com and explore all the different vintage stamps you can use on your next card or letter. That's ENFIELDPOST on Instagram and EnfieldPost.com for your wedding and vintage postage needs. Enfield Post is the official postage stamp sponsor of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. The front of our next postcard has the large Japanese pagoda from the Japanese Pavilion of the World Showcase. On the back it reads, Japan, World Showcase. A pagoda rises among sculpted gardens and colorful koi fish ponds. Shop in a store dating back from the 17th century and try teppanyaki dining in a setting recalling the Shishinden Shrine. It's not postmarked but has a 20-cent Blue Jay postage stamp, Scott number 2483. I know the postcard senders visited the park in mid-July 1994. When park hours for Epcot were likely from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., the weather average for Orlando in mid-July would have the highs in the low 90s and a low in the mid-70s. It's addressed to the McDowells of Sacramento, California. It reads, We made it. Left Sacto at 9 p.m., arrived at Florida at 8:30 a.m. We're doing something every day. See you soon, Sheila and Clocky. The other side of Epcot is the World Showcase, a series of pavilions each focused on a different country from around the world. These pavilions continued the original theme of a World's Fair by highlighting different countries and their culture, architecture, cuisine, and history. In 1982, there were 9 countries represented. I'll list them in alphabetical order and avoid the debate of starting in one direction or the other. Canada, China, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Mexico, United Kingdom, and the United States. In 1984, Morocco was added, and Norway was added in 1988. In the center of the World Showcase is the World Showcase Lagoon, which offered some transportation from the main entrance of the World Showcase to either the Germany Pavilion or to the Morocco Pavilion. During the first year of operation, there was a small evening water show called Le Carnaval de Lumière, which included some fountains and 2 barges with projections. These could only be viewed from the Mexico and Canada pavilions. It was quickly replaced with a new show called New World Fantasy, which used the same barges but included fireworks and could be enjoyed from all around the World Showcase. In 1988, a new show called Illuminations debuted, and although it had many different versions and new names, the show ran until September 30th, 2019. Looking through some old maps and guidebooks, I found that Epcot at one point had 11 mailboxes. Currently there are 2 mailboxes in the park, one next to Spaceship Earth and the men's restroom, and the second in the American Adventure, the United States Pavilion. This incoming postcard is sponsored by the Art Throwdown. Art Throwdown, or ATD, is an online craft hour on Instagram, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. Be sure to check out Monday's ATD, which is usually hosted by paper artist Russ Romano. I see many amazing art projects, learned about awesome postmarks, postage stamp history, and a lot more on different episodes. It's great to stop in for an hour to watch someone craft or design something unique. Each host brings something a little different to each show. I'll list some of the regular hosts, or you can follow Russ Romano 2021 on Instagram. The front of my incoming postcard has the Walt Disney quote, "Why do we have to grow up?" Above the quote is an image of the miniature Disneyland at the Walt Disney Family Museum. You can see a miniature Wicked Wench pirate ship and the miniature Mark Twain on the rivers of America. On the back it reads, Disneyland of Walt's Imagination, built by Kerner Optical, San Rafael, California, especially for Gallery 9 in the Walt Disney Family Museum. It's postmarked September 15th, 2022, with a Santa Ana Thinking of You cancel, and the Winter Barn Forever postcard postage stamp from a coil of stamps, Scott number 5551. It reads, Where are you? We miss you. Just ate bad tacos. Boo. Hope our next trips match up. XOXO Shannon. Thank you so much for the postcard, Shannon. I love getting mail from Shannon from Going To Guides. And good news, Shannon, I'm back on the road and will be visiting the parks very soon. In fact, I may be at the parks when you listen to this episode. This is also a good reminder to go to Going To Guides on Etsy and buy some new postcards. Sorry about the tacos, but fun stamp. It's interesting that the Scott number of this stamp changes when it's printed in a different format. This one is from the coil of 100 stamps versus the sheet of 20 stamps. Thanks for listening to Sent from Disneyland. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends. It would be awesome to share your favorite episode. There are over 100 episodes to choose from. It would also help to leave a 5-star rating and comment at whatever podcast platform you use. If you'd like to support the show financially, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/SentFromDisneyland. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Sent From Disneyland, or on Twitter at Sent From Disney. For questions and comments, send me a postcard addressed to Sent From Disneyland, P.O. Box 44, Hood, California, 95639. This podcast is not affiliated with Disney, the United States Postal Service, or any post office or Disney properties. Opinions expressed on this podcast belong to its host and guests of the Sent From Disneyland podcast.